a lot of companies today, they actually pay to have focus groups. They pay people to come in and look at an ad. Reddit is a giant focus group.
This is Time for Marketing, the marketing podcast that will tell you everything you've missed when you didn't attend the marketing conference. Hello and welcome to the Time for Marketing podcast. My name is Peter and I'll be your host for the 18th time. As always, you are very welcome to go and subscribe to this podcast, rate it 5 stars, tell to your friends, your mother, and everyone else who you think is going to be interested in this excellent episode that we have this time. With me on the podcast is Daniel Russell. Daniel, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. Excited to be here.
I'm very glad that you're here. You are one of those magical people who got content to the top of Reddit. How did you do that?
I spent a long time on Reddit and started to notice some themes, some trends and patterns between what was making it to the top. And I did some experimenting and started posting my own content. And before long, I got a few posts to the top.
Was it pictures of your cats?
No. In fact, I think the first thing that went to the first thing that I had a lot of success with was actually a picture of baby stingrays. I had seen a picture of baby stingrays somewhere else on the internet. I posted it to Reddit and people just thought they were really funny looking and they kept upvoting it. And before long, it was the #1 post on Reddit.
All right. My 4 upvotes that I have on Reddit are very envious to you and your stingrays right now. Daniel, when you don't post stuff or read stuff on Reddit, you are the COO of digital marketing agency that is called Go Fish Digital. What are the interesting things that you do as the COO at the company?
So I'm involved in a little bit of everything, which keeps life interesting for me, but definitely still involved with certain clients that have unique situations, or clients that are larger companies, larger businesses that need my help. And then I also work on the operations side of the business, so helping us find new people to hire, figuring out things financially for the company. So it's a little bit of everything that I work on. I'm actually also an attorney. And so if any contracts need reviewing or we have any legal questions, I'm usually the one that ends up answering those as well. So it's a mixed bag, lots of hats.
You being an attorney, how comes that you are not earning a lot of money and doing all of the stuff that people that we see on the TV show Suits are doing, but you decided to go and post on Reddit? You probably do other stuff than post on Reddit, sorry, but still.
But still, yes, I do definitely post on Reddit. I always wanted to end up in business, and if it was creative, if it was some sort of creative spot within business, then that would be even better. And the question that I often asked myself was, how should I get there? What path should I take? And I talked to people about going to business school, and then also heard some people suggest I go to law school. And then after talking to a lot of business people that I respect, they recommended law school. So I went to law school, became an attorney. And then when the opportunity to work with a marketing agency came up, I saw it as the perfect fit because it's both business related and creative. And so I jumped at the opportunity, and I've been here for almost 5.5 years now.
All right. Yeah. I majored in political science, so I also sort of did a switch to a different career. All right. I invited you to the podcast because you had a very interesting presentation at the Content Marketing Conference in Boston this year. The presentation was called The Secret Sauce, Harvesting Content Ideas from Reddit. How was the conference in general? It's a big conference, 4 days, a lot of speakers. How did you you enjoy that?
The conference was great. It's in Boston, which is a great city, and it's right next to the water. So it's in the Wharf district of Boston. So there's just a lot of neat things going on there, a lot of good food, and the conference was a bigger one, and it did have a lot of speakers and a lot of content. And so it was great for me because I got to hear, topics and ideas that I had never heard before, and also got a chance to spend time with the other speakers since there were so many.
Yeah, Boston I was lucky to go to Boston to the Inbound conference.
Oh, yes.
I was lucky to go and had the opportunity to see Boston, and it's a really nice city. Yeah, I really enjoyed what is it, lobster hot dogs are a Boston thing, aren't they?
Yeah, yeah. They have a lot of seafood, a lot of crab, lobster, and it's all delicious.
All right, let's go down to business. And these are your 5 minutes where you sum up your presentation and then we'll talk about it. Here you go.
All right. Well, my presentation was on Reddit and how it's kind of a unknown magical marketing tool that a lot of people don't really think of as something that they could use to find ideas for content marketing and any type of content that you might use on social media, et cetera. And so what I've done is spent a lot of time researching Reddit, researching the demographics that make up Reddit, how it works, and essentially used it as a software tool, as any other software tool you might pay to use or subscribe to. I use it like a software tool to find content ideas that I know will be a success. And the way that all works is, first, Reddit is a forum. So it's an online forum where people can post links to other websites, links to content. They can upload content and images directly to Reddit, videos. They can obviously write text posts. And so it's this large forum that is constantly seeing new content, different types of content. And in fact, it's so large that it had about 500 million visits in March of 2019, so just a couple months ago. So typically across the year, it will see billions of visits each year, which means that there are hundreds of millions of people who are adding content, deciding what content they like, commenting on content at any given time. And one of the big keys to why Reddit is a success, and also one of the big keys as to why it's so great for using Reddit for content marketing, is that when people post content, other people decide whether or not they like it, and then they upvote it or they downvote it. And so liked content gets upvoted and it starts to rise to the top of Reddit, starts to get closer to the first page. Downvoted content sinks to the bottom. So if you go on Reddit at any given time, you can see people's live reactions, their actual votes on whether or not they like content. And a lot of companies today, they actually pay to have focus groups. They pay people to come in and look at an ad or look at a new product or look at a type of content marketing and give them feedback. And they pay, a lot of money to do that. Reddit is a giant focus group that is constantly upvoting and downvoting content. And so by using it as a source of information for marketing, as a software tool, as an online focus group, you can get information that you might not be able to get otherwise. And so a couple of examples of that, I was doing some work with a client that did a lot of things in the transportation space. So they did taxi cabs, they did limo services, shuttle services, and that might not inherently seem like a great industry for creative content marketing. But what I did was I used Reddit as a marketing software tool. I went into Reddit, I used Reddit's search feature, and I found the highest upvoted content that mentioned limos. Because our client provided limo services, I thought maybe limos could be a good tie-in. So I looked at what the top performing content was for limos over the last year. And I saw that usually the most upvoted content about limos was things about the presidential limo. So the American president's limo is a big tank. It's got bulletproof glass and its own oxygen supply. And people really liked talking about these limos. They liked upvoting these limos. And so what we did was we went and found pictures of every presidential limo over the last 100 years. And then we created a morphing GIF that shows the images over time, where one limo morphs into the next, so that you can see it start from the old days and then progress until now, where it's, this big tank of a vehicle. And the reason it was so great to use Reddit in this case is I already knew that people liked presidential limos. So I already knew that this was a topic that people like to talk about. So when we released that content and we started sharing it with reporters and bloggers and put it on social media, it did really, really well. And I already knew it would because Reddit showed me that it was something that people liked. And so I use Reddit like this all the time. And anytime that I have a new topic or a new client, I'll go into Reddit. I will find the most upvoted content. Usually what my preference is to find a subreddit that has to do with my topic. I look at the top content from that subreddit over the last month to 6 months. The idea being that I can see kind of a recent sample of what content people like. And by looking at that top content, I can get a really good idea of what people want to see and what people like already. And I didn't even have to pay for it. It's not a software tool that I have to pay. It's all there free. And it's something that's worked out incredibly well. Now, there are some limitations to it. Reddit as an audience is a little skewed. So Reddit users are overwhelmingly male. About 2/3 of Reddit users are male, about 1/3 are female. Reddit users are also very young. About 64% of Reddit users are between the ages of 19 and 29. And Reddit is also very well educated. About 42% of Reddit users have college degrees, while only 18% are either in high school or have less than a high school degree, which means that the rest are, in between. The rest are probably in college right now. And so it's not a perfect demographic. It doesn't perfectly represent, any one country or region. But if you keep that in mind when you're looking at these different ideas, you can still find something that works really well. So even if, your industry or your target product is female focused and only 1/3 of Reddit users are female, there are still subreddits within Reddit that are a majority female, that are female focused as well. So you can still find content that is relevant to your target audience and see what people's responses to it are. So that is ultimately the secret sauce right there, is essentially using Reddit as you would any other software tool. There's a lot of software tools out there right now that will show you the most shared content on Twitter or on Facebook or on Instagram. And that's essentially how I use Reddit. I find the most upvoted, the most liked, the most talked about content about a particular subject. And the best part is it's already verified content. It already has people that have shared it, that like it. And if I then, want to spend time to put together content, I already know that it's a good idea. If I need to convince a client or a boss that it's a good idea, that it's worth spending time on, I can show them the numbers from Reddit. So it's an incredibly powerful tool. And the best part is it's free.
All right. Free tools that give you excellent results. This is something that we all really like. Thank you, Daniel, for this. Probably, if I understand you in the right way, when you do all of that research and then create new content, you don't only post that new content on the Reddit, you probably use it for other content marketing and then make your client's website visible even more. Is that right?
Yes, and that's actually a very important distinction, is that oftentimes the content we create, it might not even be posted to Reddit. So when we're creating this content, we're actually not creating it just for Reddit. We're using Reddit as a validation, as a certification that it's good stuff, that it's a good idea. But things that do well on Reddit will do very well on Twitter. They'll do very well on Facebook. Reporters go to Reddit all the time to find ideas for articles. If you follow BuzzFeed or Huffington Post, for example, probably about 1 out of 4 articles that they publish, they got from Reddit. The best memes, the
The
quotes,
lists
videos.
always, yeah.
Yes, the lists, so many of those came from Reddit. And so when I'm creating content based off of an idea I saw on Reddit, I'm creating it knowing that people on other platforms will like it, that reporters might want to talk about it, the bloggers will want to include links to it. And when it comes to putting content back onto Reddit, it's actually a little bit of a risky idea because the Reddit community is very nervous about spam. They don't want to be advertised to. They don't want to be secretly sold to. And so if Reddit users notice that a company is promoting themselves on Reddit, they'll downvote it, or they'll make angry comments about it. And so typically, I actually don't recommend putting content on Reddit as a company, but instead use the good ideas you find on Reddit to put content on your website and on social platforms and to pitch to reporters.
Okay, yeah, that sounds very logical. Why Reddit? How is Reddit different from Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and other social media? Is it the downvotes? Is it the search function? Or is it everything else?
I would say it's a combination of a few things. The first thing is that the Reddit user base does not overlap as much with Facebook and other platforms. In fact, a lot of Reddit users talk about how much they hate Facebook. So one of the nice things, if you were to take a top piece of content from Facebook, for example, as an idea, it's very possible that a lot of people have already seen it. And your other audiences on Twitter or on your website or reporters have already seen it. However, if you're digging deep into Reddit and finding content related to you and things that have been upvoted, it's very possible that not as many people have, it's not as played out, I guess you could say. It still is, the Reddit audience is so separate from the other audiences that you can then repurpose that idea and it will still be fresh and new. But then, yes, per what you mentioned about the search function, it's just a lot easier to find content using Reddit's search function than it might be on Facebook, which is one of the reasons why they have paid software tools specifically for finding content on Facebook now, is because it's a little bit more difficult. Whereas with Reddit, you can just go into the search bar and narrow down your search from there. And so that just makes it a whole lot easier to find things. And then the final part about Reddit is that it's often the trend setter. So even if something on Reddit ends up on Facebook or ends up on BuzzFeed, it started on Reddit. So because Reddit is the trend setter, it's the one that's creating the jokes, creating the cool ideas. If you go to the source rather than the second-hand or the third-hand source, then you can get more original ideas, or at least get closer to the source.
Okay, excellent. A lot of people, maybe not a lot of people, my girlfriend doesn't like Reddit because she thinks it's ugly and unusable. And she's also in marketing. How should I convince her? Where should I send her? Are there subreddits that are better for people that, even after listening to this podcast, are going to go and want to start understanding Reddit? Because I feel that people need some time to understand Reddit. It is a bit different. Where should they go?
It is definitely different, and the interface and user interface is very confusing. It used to be just extremely ugly and just a lot of plain text and a lot of white space, but not good white space. It was just not very well laid out. And at the time, the Reddit community actually really liked that because they thought it was a barrier to entry for other people. So that unless you were already kind of technical, unless you were, a digital native, you were hip on just the web in general, then you wouldn't like Reddit and you'd want to go to Facebook, for example. Reddit, though, has been trying to make more money and they've been trying to grow. And so they've been working on changing their interface over time. They actually released an update about 18 months ago or so that made it look a lot more like a Facebook feed, which a lot of the Reddit community was very unhappy about. But since they made that update to make it look a little bit more like Facebook and a little bit easier to see and use, its engagement rates have gone up quite a bit. And so it's a change that worked really well for Reddit, even if the Reddit community wasn't very happy about it at first. So it is getting better. So over time, hopefully it won't be as offensive to look at from a design standpoint. There are also several apps that you can use. So there are apps that take Reddit's content and then reformat it to make it more attractive. Reddit actually has their own app that they've been pushing pretty hard that will, reformat even Reddit's content to make it more usable in a mobile format. But there's actually quite a few different apps, and obviously she can look around and find her favorite from there.
What are you using?
So I still use it most on desktop.
All right.
And yeah, I maybe I'm a purist. I don't know exactly what it is. I even went into my settings and I reset it to be a little bit more like it used to be back when it was ugly.
So you're one of those people. Yeah,
I am a little bit. Yeah, I am a little bit of one of those people. And so I'm a bit of a purist there. But then one final thing is that there are subreddits that can, essentially Reddit has opened it up so that each subreddit can create their own custom interface. And so there are some subreddits that are a little bit easier to use. And so usually what I recommend when somebody is trying to get engaged with Reddit is I ask them a few of their interests, say they're interested in cooking and they're interested in pets. Then I would recommend the food subreddit. And there's a subreddit called AW, like AWW, like, oh, something so cute, which is mainly for pictures of people's pets. And between, two subreddits like that, usually people find a lot that they like, and it kind of helps them get to know the interface.
But knowing Reddit, there's probably a subreddit for cooking pets, so probably don't type that in and don't go and check
it out. There probably is, yes.
All right, Daniel, this was very inspiring. I know that a lot of my working time, and I'm doing the air quotes right now, is going to be spent on Reddit. Even more of my working time is going to be spent on Reddit, and that's all right. Thank you very much. Where can people find you? Do you have any future conference plans, or where can people find you on the internet?
Yeah. So definitely welcome to follow me on Twitter. I talk a lot about the research that I do, the talks that I give, and then, of course, the things we're doing at Go Fish Digital on there. My Twitter handle is DNL Russell, RUSSELL. And then people are welcome to email me if they have any questions about it. My email address is just daniel@gofishdigital.com. And I will be speaking at a few more conferences in the coming months here. I actually just got home from a digital summit conference last week, and I'll be speaking again in June at SearchLove in Boston. Actually, SearchLove is a kind of an SEO focused conference in Boston where I'll be talking about Google's artificial intelligence and how Google is using artificial intelligence to improve its search results. So a lot going on, but yeah, definitely happy to keep people in the loop.
Are you giving out your Reddit username?
I don't. In my presentation, I actually used some of the content from my own Reddit profile. But no, I don't.
All right. Yeah, that's a very specific thing from Reddit. No one needs to know your Reddit username. Yeah.
It's an interesting question, though.
Yeah, it is. Daniel, thank you very much for being on the podcast. I'll add the links to you and to the conferences and everything in the show notes. And well, I think that's it. Thank you for being here, and I'll talk to you somewhere, somehow.
My pleasure. Thanks, Peter.